Hello, friends. A very warm welcome. And in the series of taking up key concepts, topics, and themes from The Economist, we are continuing with the same zeal and understanding and trying to understand that what key areas and key words we can learn. So, in front of you on the screen is Bangladesh has achieved its second liberation. So the question arises that whether it would be too early to say so, and what exactly second liberation constitutes. And now, when everybody is criticizing the previous Sheikh Hasina's government that she went on to scuttle democracy and she was a kind of a soft authoritarian rule was there. Now these ideas are now coming up as such. But there was a time when there was a huge economic growth and momentum was there, especially the pre-corona time period, and the post-corona things got little more weird. However, the question is that just by toppling a regime or by removing a leader by any popular or so-called sponsored movement, can we say that the new horizon and new era comes into picture? That is the whole point. So, as already written here, Bangladesh, known for its many positive characteristics and in which India had played a significant role, which we had never been imposing on them. Though they are saying that we show high-handedness, but that is not the way around. If high-handedness has to be seen, then you please look at America and then talk about it. So declining poverty rates, birthplace of microcredits, Silicon Valley of social entrepreneurship and social media are very key words. When we say social entrepreneurship, then comes into picture the role of Mr. Mohammed Yunus also, and the Grameen Bank that he had been pioneer and so on, and million of women who are integral part of the textile industry. Only four languages have more native speakers in the world than Bengali. That's what they are claiming to be. So, garment of the world, that is fine. And the question arises that sham elections now someone is calling in 2014, 2018, and 2024. And it is saying the vibrant ones in 1991, 1996, and 2008. So no Bangladeshi younger than 30 has ever cast a vote in an unrigged national election. So again, a kind of a narrative is there. Government corrupted many of our institutions, judiciary and education system at all levels. So is it the way forward for Bangladesh? That is what we can say. And himself, he is talking about that I am facing issues or criminal cases where maximum sentence is life in prison, charged with forgery, embezzlement, and money laundering. So we are not talking about it as such. And the point is of clearing other people also. We are like photojournalist Shahidul Alam. So Bangladesh earned its independence from this autocracy through a student-led movement, which went on to galvanize the nation. And many lives were lost. So Mansi, of the next half a decade or so, what would be the blueprint and the plan for revival and so-called second liberation of Bangladesh? What must be?
So, if this second liberation leads to more strengthening of democratic forces, or as we are seeing that who is actually going to lead the country, because who will be the next prime minister, or how that is going to be chosen, then we can talk about more strengthened regional cooperation with other countries, like we have BBIN and the role of, again, blue economy can play significant role, connectivity. So more integration, more collaboration, cooperation, and connectivity with even the neighborhood countries can play important role. And even in terms of funding also, so we are seeing that even USA has also recently announced that they'll be providing certain aid to Bangladesh. So how that is going to be used effectively and judiciously in a fair manner.
And especially when the article is speaking about that, although some countries such as India backed the ousted prime minister and earned the enmity of Bangladeshi people as a result. What is your take on such mindset and the point?
So given the relationship India shares with Bangladesh, again, as you also mentioned, that India has played very important role even in terms of liberation of Bangladesh. So people should not forget that. And in terms of this, like we haven't provided any safe space to her. She has again moved to another country. So as far as again there was certain concerns related to even extradition treaty that we have signed with Bangladesh.
As of now, when we are speaking,
Hmm.
she is in a safe location in India. I don't think she had left India for UK or US or somewhere else.
Anji, sir. Sir, again for us, human rights are supreme above anything else. So,
For us, human rights are supreme. So, by that logic, if I ask you, then leaders from Myanmar and even North Korea, do you think they must also be sheltered?
no, so not from that perspective, but even she's having like certain charges, or now it has been imposed after she has been ousted. So earlier they weren't like this was not the narrative against her when she was in power or she was the leader.
Hmm.
So now how quickly things have changed. So
So, why don't you think that India must endorse what Muhammad Yunus is saying and just send Sheikh Hasina back to Bangladesh? Why not? Why do you think India is not doing so?
so because right now the domestic condition is not that stable and there are certain risks to her life as well. So knowing that, I think we cannot send her back to the country. As we said for the even refugees also, that if there is risk of persecution in their home country, so it is we should not send them back to their countries.
I agree with that point. Hmm. And the other point is India having its own pedagogy, having its own foreign policy norms, having its own long cultural and social and political stature. So we cannot just be swayed by whatever someone says in whatever circumstances. So we can move forward to the next one.
Ji, sir.
Can women-only factories help more Indian women into work? This is a very, very pertinent and a very, very important question, which we read in a different way. For example, Ola, an electric scooter manufacturer, they are going to do so. So, directly coming to the point, Mansi, what do you think? How it is going to be a successful idea? Because in 2023, as you already said in our different discussions and also forums, that only 33% of Indian women were active. And globally, if you say, then 50% women are active and 37% in neighboring Bangladesh. So the only countries which are having less women are Muslim conservative countries like Pakistan, Afghanistan, North Africa, Middle East, and so on. So India's working women are a very integral part of the social setup. They are part of making India as a five-trillion economy. The disparity is there. Conservative norms are there. Jobs are also scarce. Man should be given preference, and wife must always obey her husband. So these are the kind of mindset, and they must be paid less also. So it is in this context when we say that, for example, in Chennai, female auto rickshaw drivers are there, but you will not find much in Delhi or in Haryana or in Bombay. We can say so. In this regard, Ola is a positive example, and women majority factories can create a kind of a positive virtuous cycle. So, what are the elements do you think will be there when we speak about women in this regard?
So one concern that we always talk about regarding the women participation is the safety. So that can be one of the benefits, that it can create more safer environment. But it would, sir, again depend upon the skills of women also. We are creating women only factories. So skills and the nature of factories in which region, what is again the demographic dividend, particularly we're talking about the women labor force. And we can say that it can in a way also lead to increased women labor force participation rate also. So it can
Hmm.
enhance more backward linkages at the same time.
Correct. You are talking about the points which were spoken by Claudia Golden when she was awarded Nobel Economics Prize, Nobel Prize for Economics, when she gave insight into women and women work. So Golden had found that subsistence level of women means women workers are forced to work along with everyone, and they are working at family farm or in the agriculture fields. So as the income rises, job is going to be out of home, so labor force will be left. That is why men, if they are doing enough to provide for household and the women's household and other works, then women work is frowned upon. क्या करेगी करके यार काम चल रहा है. But as the income rises, women education level, if they are also there at higher level, then white collar jobs will be more and the greater number will be there in the workforce. So that is why women labor market participation must not decline. It must be rising with the better jobs, more jobs, and they must be skilled jobs. What do you say? Can you summarize?
So I would say it will bring positive results if this is taken at a larger scale in India across different regions, depending upon the speciality or the uniqueness of different regions, like when we're talking about one district, one product. So that can be promoted at a larger scale by creating women-only factories. So it will help in ensuring again availability of the raw materials or like the formal credit availability. It will boost more competition also, and women empowerment would be sir one of the major positives out of it.
Fine. Move on, please.
Okay, so
Now, we have discussed previously also the level and the intensity of the Chinese manufacturing sector. Now, this article is speaking about China's manufacturers are going broke. So I give you opportunity to speak up and share the points.
So as we've discussed before, that China is facing the challenge of overcapacity. They have not been able to fully recover out of the impacts of COVID-19. So there are again higher risk associated with the bankruptcies also. And apart from this, when we're talking about the China's unilateral actions in the Indo-Pacific also, so that is also impacting China's exports. So all of this is creating, in a way, weakened economic growth in China, particularly when we say that China is driven by, again, it is a manufacturing-led economy. So
Correct.
these are the challenges we can say.
But then the companies, there are more than what we can say 5 lakh companies. And these companies are showing a deterioration on the conditions. And they are loss making companies because inventory is piling up. So why? Why? From where the world's rest of the conditions are being met?
So we are seeing that firstly, China plus one strategy is focused upon like different companies. They are diversifying their bases across, even in Southeast Asian economies like in Vietnam, or even we are seeing positive trends in India also, more FDI in that sense. Then we can say, sir, equal and simultaneous focus upon again re-globalization or globalization 2.0 in the form of piercing more
But three
protection
areas,
measures. So self.
correct. Three areas, three areas that is EVs, solar modules, and semiconductors. Do you think India is catching up?
So in this case, we say as China enjoys the monopoly or it has relatively greater supply of particularly raw materials in these three major sectors. So we cannot again be directly, or in a short term, we cannot generate that much amount of capacity that we can directly cater to the domestic demand. However, we are moving in that direction gradually. So right now, again, not just India, but even different or the largest developed countries are also reliant upon Chinese imports in this case. Or we have been also talking about, sir, a new thing which has emerged, that complete ban on the imports of the finished EV vehicles from China, but they've allowed FDI from China. So in a way, that will be also indirectly and directly boosting their domestic capacities of different countries where China would be taking up the
And
FDI.
what about semiconductors?
And sir, in case of semiconductors also, like US, we have seen that they are majorly investing. Their companies like Nvidia, or even the semiconductor manufacturing from Taiwan. So gradually, so we can say that capacity would be increasing, but initially major power lies in the hands of China itself.
Okay, move forward.
जी sir.
This is really different one where we talk about Africa's two most populous economies, but reforms. Think about India's in 1990s or even rest of the Asian countries also. The question is about Ethiopia and also Nigeria. Will they able to stick up with them? And the question also arises, the tough reforms, are they Western led reforms? Are they really African continent and African century led reforms? That is the whole point. The pain of surgery endured for healing, that is what they are claiming. So, devaluations that they are talking about, and African governments, many times the civilian governments are not really autonomous and powerful. Nigeria and Ethiopia, they are not only most populous, but they are taking up advice from the IMF also. Exchange rate, restricted imports, flow of credit, these are some important areas. The ongoing reforms will be leading to opening up of banking sector, opening up of manufacturing sector, redesigning the monetary policy in such a way that more transparency is there. They are going to follow, like I already said, comparable to India's 1991 reforms. Because when Ethiopia became independent and it took shape, socialist ideas were never abandoned. State is controlling the financial system. State is controlling banking, telecoms from the foreign competition. Export-led growth is very little. So Nigeria's approach, which we speak about even import substitution, it can only be possible when you have the huge structure. Only using tariffs and import bans is not going to make you an open economy. That is why we can say the new liberal programs are required, but will they be reaching any kind of conclusion? Because for that you need a whole ecosystem and whole architecture, economic architecture. Many African countries are not in that position. So are they able to service their loans? Are they able to make sure that their foreign currency exchange rate is market based? Because there is a strain on both current account and capital account. Forget about FDI. Where do you get money from? You are not getting any FDI. You are not going to get any kind of development or manufacturing. Mercenary Chinese ideas are already dominating there. Asian industrializers often undervalued. That is what the point is. Dollars will be trading at black market. So both Ethiopia and Nigeria, which have coffee, which have oil, which have, for example, see fruit juice, and in Nigeria you have rice, soap, and toothpaste. They are talking about before IMF deal, Ethiopia's international reserves covered only bare 2 weeks of imports. So the leadership, political leadership, and also enlightened approach towards financial relations, like what we saw with Sri Lanka also. So Ethiopia and Nigeria, they both are looking for economic liberation in one sense. For that, political stability is required. Free market economy can only be possible when you have stability, when you have socio-economic peace, and also when you have a kind of a good bilateral relations. If foreigners can come, they can buy property, they can open up, like in India, we say we have multinational corporations. So the free market economy is only possible, as I said, when there is stability, when there is peace, when there is international rule of law, when there is ease of doing business. And on the top of it is inflation. On the top of it, the local people having certain jobs. On the top of it, local people suffering from drought and famines and so on. So the pain of reform will be able to bring peace, or will it be bringing anger on the streets? Will it be bringing military rule? So, as an economist, Mansi, what do you say from that perspective?
So the intention behind the reforms and the political leadership is going to make a difference, and how they are being implemented. Whether they'll be again empowering the citizens in terms of decision making, or whether it would be allowing more freedom to them, freedom to the businesses, whether it will be increasing more ease of doing business in the different African countries or not. And likewise, like when we're talking about even the importance of industrial policy, because it is different countries in Africa, they are rich in natural resources. So even having a proper and democratically decided industrial policy will also be very crucial.
What do India can do in this regard?
So India, learning from its own experience, we can have, sir, more of joint ventures with again at the industrial level, and it
Mhm.
can also, we can say that it can also be related to India's industrial sector growth, because right now we are also trying to increase or use our potential, which exists in the industrial and the manufacturing sector. So
Mhm.
this can be one of the things, and certain, like, we can also invest in the African countries in the basic infrastructure like roads and all of that. So that can also boost more of cooperation. So becoming a part of again the global value supply chain.
Even if we're gonna do that, then we require a kind of a very, very smart, and because already we are becoming a power which is extending loans and also credit to not only just so the neighboring countries which are not so thankful to us, and there is always a threat looming of China's control, and then we are already doing it for Vietnam, for Bangladesh, for Sri Lanka, for Nepal, for Bhutan, and on the top of it, if you want really think for Africa, then we need to have a complete structured plan. Then only we'll be able to do so, and through which kind of financial institution, that is also very important.
Yes,
Just like saying we you want us to invest into their roads, and their infrastructure will not be sufficient for us. In fact, recently Adani's airport in Uganda, or I'm not able to recall, so then that was also introduced. There was some problem.
so even like private sector, even public institutions, like when we're talking about the gas exploration, so ONGC Videsh, they
Already we are
dedicated.
doing not only ONGC, we have telecom corporation, telecom consultant, engineering consultant of India Limited, and we have other PSUs also. We are through EduSat long back we had supported. Then
Hmm.
in generic medicine, we are supporting a lot. Pharmaceuticals, we are supporting. Indian businesses are putting their money, but
Yes.
then we must get the right price.
Hmm.
Please move forward. So America remains Asia's military exercise partner of choice. So rather than choice, actually it is a compulsion. There is no other choice. That is why we call
Hmm.
it's a choice. Because the rest of the countries, including Japan, Australia, Singapore, Philippines, and if you speak about Pakistan and even India, and if we focus upon the rim of the Pacific exercise, in which Australia would be there, and even Japan is also part of the exercise in a indirect way, then you can say that from disaster relief to anti-submarine warfare, it is only US which want to continue its dominance under all circumstances. Sinking exercise that they are talking about to torpedo a rusty 36,000-ton American amphibious assault ship. So RIMPAC is an exercise. RIMPAC is actually way to cement and to bolster relations. To be feel more happy, yeah, I am the one who is a champ. And to showcase that China is not the one, obviously, China is going to take time, but America will dislodge, discourage, and do whatever is required. So disparity is there. So how each country would fight, that is the point. China would be looking forward to Taiwan, fighting its own backyard, but America is far away from its home, fighting in Taiwan also, fighting in South Korea, North Korea also, fighting for Japan also. And it is also believed for India also that we must be having a positive alliance with the US, otherwise China is also going to assault us in some ways. These are the kind of the alleged threats. So combined military might is too much. China obviously having its own navy, coast guard, maritime militia of armed fishing fleets, it can intimidate the neighbors. But in case of ASEAN, if all ASEAN nations come together and they somehow bring common agenda on the platform, then also China could be discouraged. Whereas China is also trying to capture and to mimic the level of the Western powers, including obviously the US. But then it is going to take a lot of time. That is what is being spoken about. So China is, as I already said in the beginning for discussion, it is going to focus on deepening ties with Pakistan, North Korea, Russia, Thailand, Iran, and so on. But then it is going to be a long time exercise. And alliance building efforts is a continuous way. It is not a one day effort. That is what we can conclude. So we have discussed many important themes today. I would like you to summarize once you stop the screen.
So the important topic, firstly, from the perspective of again the relations of India with the African continent, how we can strengthen that. And secondly, we are talking about the Indo-Pacific region, how the strategic dynamics they are changing and they are being remolded again. So in every topic, like we have to focus more upon what can be India's role, how India can act, or what is
And
our
you can Bangladesh, second Bangladesh liberation, role of
second
women in productivity.
zone. So everywhere it needs to be India centric. We have to think in that direction.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And we'll come back again with the next important set of themes to continue our quest for success under all circumstances.